When people think about experiments, we often think about scientists in white lab coats, measuring things precisely. In the social sciences, a different approach is used. Well, not entirely. People are still really happy about the research findings, but the steps taken are a bit different. Here are the steps related to helping you conduct better research. Getting ready. Defining a research question. The question becomes important because it drives the aim of your study. Making up a hypothesis. Narrowing questions to be able to target real objectives and find significant results. When you think your question is good enough, it's important to refine the specifics of your wording and focus in on what you really want to accomplish. It's important to identify causal factors. The dependent variable is what changes and is affected by the independent variable, which never changes. For example, lung cancer does not increase the likelihood of smoking, but smoking would increase the likelihood of cancer. Planning the experiment. As researchers, we need to decide which key factors we're going to control. For example, you could take out a factor to see if people were gluten intolerant by removing the gluten from a product. When it comes to adding a factor, we could see if students learn better with an animal by adding a cat or panda in the classroom. To hold or stabilize a factor in order to determine if a teacher sustains the same impact on the results of students' performances, we need to maintain or hold that one factor. In this case, it would be the teacher. Then you'll need to decide where you'll do the research. In a laboratory, the environment is controlled and people can be directed to do the same thing in a specific amount of time, and the research dictates how it's going to happen. The research is at the forefront of the experiment. So we can say that lab experiments are usually shorter, more controlled, and meticulous. In the field, the situation is somewhat different because the researcher is placed in the background. They're kind of hiding in their natural habitat and then observing the subject without putting any pressure on the way their behavior is being exhibited. It's generally longer. It's structured observation and it provides the researcher with more opportunities for available possibilities. After this, the researcher needs to decide which instruments are going to be used. There could be standard tests, surveys, or other methods that are going to be implemented. The way we can use these instruments are by asking subjects to do pre-test, then provide treatment, followed by giving them a post-test to see if the treatment was effective. In order to be able to do that, you will need participants. You cannot start the research without having the consent of the people that will be participating. Once you've selected the population of your research study, you need to randomize the population by creating two different groups. One group is called the control group, and the other is called the treatment group. The treatment group is the one that will be the group As a researcher, you will need to make sure that both groups are composed of participants that are relatively the same. Once you've selected your population, you can decide the type of experiment you're going to conduct: pre-experimental, true experimental, or quasi-experimental. Now it's time to implement the research. Ensure that you don't go over the allocated funds appropriated for the research. Make sure that everyone conducting the research is on the same page and maintains records of your findings. This will be the best way to help you analyze the data later. The last step in conducting effective research is analyzing the data and creating a conclusion. You need to spend time compiling all of the results, and a good way to visually assess the findings are to create charts. Once you've established the results, it's important to consider the limitations of the study. In the end, remember that you're contributing to humanity by supplying knowledge to the greater good of the academic community. We hope that you enjoy your research. If you're interested in experimental research, feel free to look at these further readings.